If these stories remind you how painful love can be, you're not alone. Subscribe and stay with us. No one should navigate heartbreak alone. The phone rang at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I almost didn't answer it. I was elbow deep in dishwater, my back aching from a double shift at the hospital, and Marcus was already in bed with his headphones on, scrolling through something on his tablet. The kids were asleep upstairs. Our house was finally, blessedly quiet. But the ringing persisted. 3 times. 4. I dried my hands on the kitchen towel and glanced at the screen sitting on the counter. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, but the caller ID read clear as day. * Mercy General Hospital. Mainline. My heart gave a small kick. I worked at Mercy General. I knew that number. I'd called it 100 times myself when I needed to reach the operator or check on patient transfers. Marcus, I called toward the bedroom. Phone's ringing. It's the hospital. He didn't look up. It's spam, Laura. Ignore it. I frowned. It says Mercy General right on the screen. They spoof numbers now, he said, still not meeting my eyes. Scammers do it all the time. Don't answer. But something in his voice made me hesitate. It wasn't concern, it was something else. Something flat and too quick, like he'd already decided before I'd even finished speaking. I picked up the phone. Hello? There was a pause, then a woman's voice, professional but warm. Hi, is this Laura Chen? Yes, this is Laura. Laura, this is Diane from HR at Mercy General. I'm so sorry to call you at home this late, but we've been trying to reach you all day. Did you get our emails? I felt my stomach tighten. Emails, no. I haven't checked my work emails since this morning. Is everything okay? Well, we need you to come in tomorrow morning before your shift. There's been a situation we need to discuss. Nothing disciplinary, she added quickly, hearing the panic in my silence. But it's important. Can you be here by 7? Of course. Can you tell me what it's about? Another pause. It's better if we discuss it in person. I'm really sorry for the late notice. When I hung up, my hands were trembling slightly. I walked into the bedroom where Marcus was still staring at his screen, the blue light casting shadows across his face. What did they want? He asked without looking up. They want me to come in early tomorrow. HR needs to talk to me about something. Now he looked up, and there was something in his expression I couldn't quite read. HR? What did you do? The question stung. I didn't do anything. She said it wasn't disciplinary. Then what is it? I don't know, Marcus. She wouldn't say over the phone. He went back to his tablet. Probably some new policy thing. Don't stress about it. But I was already stressed. And more than that, I was confused. Marcus had been so certain that call was spam, so insistent I shouldn't answer, and the way he'd asked what I'd done, like he expected me to be in trouble. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, I left the house at 6:30 before Marcus was even awake. Our daughter Sophie, who was 12, was responsible enough to get herself and her little brother Danny ready for school. I left a note on the kitchen counter and drove through the grey dawn toward Mercy General, my mind racing through every possible scenario. Had I made a medication error? Missed something in a chart? Had a patient complained? Diane from HR met me in the small conference room on the 2nd floor, the one with the frosted glass door and the uncomfortable chairs. She was a woman in her mid-50s with kind eyes and silver streaks in her dark hair. Laura, thank you for coming in. I know this is unusual. She gestured for me to sit. I want to start by saying you're not in any trouble. This is delicate, and we wanted to handle it privately. My heart was hammering. Okay. She slid a folder across the table. 3 weeks ago, someone accessed your employee account and made changes to your direct deposit information. Your paychecks for the last 2 pay periods were deposited into a different account than the one we have on file for you. I stared at her. What? No, that's not possible. I get my checks direct deposited into our joint account with my husband. I've been getting them just fine. Diane's expression grew more serious. That's what we thought might be the case. Laura, the account your recent paychecks went into, is it one you recognize? She opened the folder and showed me a routing number and account number partially redacted. I didn't recognize them. This isn't my account. I don't understand. The changes were made using your employee login credentials, your username and password. The request came from an IP address that traced back to a home network. She paused. Your home network. The room felt suddenly cold. Someone in my house did this? We don't know for certain, but yes, the access came from your home internet connection. We flagged it because it was unusual. You've never changed your direct deposit in the 8 years you've worked here, and when we tried to call you yesterday during your shift, we were told you'd called in sick. But you weren't scheduled to be off, and there was no call-in record in the system. I worked yesterday, I said, my voice rising. I worked a full shift, 8 to 6. You can check with my supervisor. Diane nodded slowly. We did. She confirmed you were here. But someone called the main hospital line yesterday morning at 6 a.m. and said they were you, calling in sick for the day. They spoke with the night operator. I couldn't breathe. Someone impersonated me? It appears that way. And Laura, when we tried to call you last night, we called 3 times. The first 2 times, someone answered and hung up immediately. The third time, you answered. Marcus. He'd been home. He'd answered the phone and hung up. My mind was reeling. I need to see those account numbers again. She showed me. I took a photo with my phone, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. What happens now? I asked. We've already stopped the direct deposits to that account and flagged it for investigation. We'll need you to reset your password immediately and review all your personal information in the system. We're treating this as identity theft. You should file a police report and you'll probably want to check all your other accounts, bank accounts, credit cards, everything. I drove home in a daze. It was only 7:45. Sophie and Danny would just be leaving for school. Marcus would be getting ready for work. He was a sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, and his schedule was flexible. He usually left around 9. When I pulled into our driveway, his car was still there. I sat in my car for a long moment, staring at our house. It was a small colonial in a decent neighborhood, painted blue with white trim. We'd bought it 6 years ago when Danny was born, and we needed more space. It had felt like a dream come true then. Now it felt like a trap. I went inside through the front door, my keys jingling in the lock. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Marcus? I called. No answer. I walked through the living room, past the scattered toys and the couch with its worn cushions, into the kitchen. The note I'd left was still on the counter, but next to it was Marcus's laptop, open and running. I shouldn't have looked. I knew it even as I was doing it, but my hands moved of their own accord, and I touched the trackpad to wake the screen. It was open to a banking website, not our bank, a different one. And there was my name, Laura Chen, listed as the account holder. But I'd never opened an account with this bank. I heard footsteps on the stairs and quickly stepped away from the laptop. Marcus appeared in the doorway, already dressed for work in his usual button-down and slacks. You're home early, he said. His voice was carefully neutral. We need to talk. Something flickered across his face. About what? I pointed at the laptop. About that, about my paychecks, about why someone used my employee login to change my direct deposit and why that someone was using our home internet. He didn't even try to deny it. He just sighed, like I'd caught him eating the last cookie instead of committing fraud. Laura, did you steal my paychecks? Steal is a strong word. Did you or did you not redirect my paychecks into an account I didn't know about? He ran a hand through his hair. It's not what you think. Then explain it to me. He sat down at the kitchen table, and I remained standing, my arms crossed, my whole body rigid with anger and disbelief. I needed some money, he said finally, just for a little while. There were some investments I wanted to make, and I knew you'd say no. Investments? Marcus, you stole my paychecks. I was going to put it back. His voice rose. I wasn't stealing from you, I was borrowing. It's our money anyway, isn't it? We're married. Then why did you hide it? Why did you open an account without telling me? Why did you pretend to be me and call my work to say I was sick? He blinked. I didn't. They have a record of the call, Marcus. Yesterday morning, 6 a.m. Someone called and said they were me. His jaw tightened. Fine, yes, I called. I thought if they couldn't reach you, it would buy me more time to fix things. Fix what things? What investments are you talking about? He wouldn't meet my eyes. Just some opportunities. Trading. I've been doing some day trading and I had a tip on a stock. Day trading? Since when do you day trade? A few months. And? Silence. Marcus, how much money have you lost? More silence. I grabbed his laptop and turned it toward me, scrolling through the account. There were deposits. My last 2 paychecks, totaling nearly $6,000. And there were withdrawals, lots of them. Transfers to something called Trade First Capital. The current balance was $812. Where's the rest? My voice was barely a whisper. It's tied up in trades. I'll get it back. I just need a little more time. You lost $5,000 of my money in 3 weeks. It's not lost, it's invested. I slammed the laptop shut. I'm done. I'm calling a lawyer. He stood up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. Laura, wait. Please, just let me explain everything. Explain what? That you've been lying to me, stealing from me, impersonating me to my employer? Do you know I could lose my job over this? Do you understand what you've done? I was trying to help us, he was shouting now. Do you think I like living paycheck to paycheck? Do you think I like driving a 10-year-old car and watching you work yourself to death at that hospital? I was trying to make some real money for once. By gambling with my paychecks, without asking me. You would have said no. You're damn right I would have. We stood there breathing hard, staring at each other across the kitchen that suddenly felt like a battlefield. There's more, isn't there? I said quietly. This isn't just about day trading. His face went pale. Marcus, what else? He sat back down, and this time he put his head in his hands. I owe some people money. My blood went cold. What people? Just people. From work. I borrowed some money a while back to cover some expenses, and I thought I could pay it back quickly, but the interest... How much? 30,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. I actually stumbled back a step. $30,000? To who? His name is Victor. He's connected to some of the doctors I work with. He does private lending. Private lending? Marcus, that's a loan shark. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask me? Because I knew you'd react like this. I knew you'd freak out and make it into this huge thing. It is a huge thing. We have 2 kids. We have a mortgage. And you've been gambling and borrowing from loan sharks. I could barely get the words out. How long? How long have you been doing this? About 8 months. 8 months. 8 months of lies, of him coming home and kissing me hello and helping the kids with homework and sleeping next to me in our bed, all while hiding this massive, catastrophic secret. I want you to leave, I said. Laura, I want you to pack a bag and get out of this house, right now. This is my house too. I don't care. Pack a bag and go to a hotel or go to your brother's. I don't care, but I can't look at you right now. He stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his expression I'd never seen before. Not shame, not guilt, something harder, something almost like resentment. Fine, he said. I'll go. But you're making a mistake. The mistake was marrying you. I didn't mean it, not entirely, but the words came out anyway. He flinched, and I felt a savage satisfaction that was immediately followed by guilt, but I didn't take it back. He went upstairs, and I heard him moving around, opening drawers, the closet door sliding. I stayed in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles went white. 15 minutes later, he came down with a duffel bag. "I'll call you," he said. I didn't answer. He left, and I heard his car start in the driveway, then fade away down the street. I stood alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the debris of my life, and finally let myself cry. I called in sick to work for real this time. I couldn't face going in, not today, not after everything. I called my supervisor directly and told her there was a family emergency, which wasn't technically a lie. Then I called my sister. Rachel lived 40 minutes away with her husband, Tom, and their 3 kids. She was 2 years older than me and had always been the responsible one, the one who made lists and had a 5-year plan and never got herself into messes like this. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, what's up?" "Rachel," my voice cracked. "Can you come over? I need help." She was there in 35 minutes. I told her everything while we sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd confronted Marcus just hours before. I showed her the bank account, the trading platform, all of it. "Jesus, Laura," she breathed. "I can't believe this." "I married him," I said numbly. "I had kids with him, and I had no idea." "How could you have known? He was hiding it deliberately." She took my hand. "You need to protect yourself. You need to separate your finances immediately, check your credit report, maybe even freeze your credit, and you need a lawyer." "I know. Do you have any money that's just yours? Savings he can't access?" I shook my head. "Everything's joint. I never thought, okay, we'll figure this out. Tom can lend you some money if you need it for lawyer fees, but Laura, you need to do this now. Today, before Marcus has time to do any more damage." She was right, of course. Rachel was always right. We spent the rest of the morning on the phone. I called our bank and removed Marcus's access to our joint account. I called credit card companies and froze accounts. I pulled our credit report and stared at it with growing horror. There were 3 credit cards I didn't recognize, all maxed out, all in my name. "He's been forging your signature," Rachel said grimly. "This is identity theft, Laura. This is criminal. He's my husband. That doesn't give him the right to do this." By the time Sophie and Danny got home from school, I'd made appointments with a divorce attorney and a fraud specialist at the police station. I'd changed every password I could think of. I'd moved what little money we had left into a new account that only I could access. And I'd blocked Marcus's number. Sophie took one look at my face and said, "Where's Dad?" I sat them both down on the couch, Sophie with her dark eyes so much like mine, Danny with his father's smile. God, they were so young. Too young for this. "Dad and I are having some problems," I said carefully. "He's going to stay somewhere else for a little while." "Are you getting divorced?" Sophie's voice was flat, like she'd been expecting this. "I don't know yet, honey. Maybe." "Is it because he yells at you?" I froze. When have you heard him yell at me? "Sometimes at night, when you think we're asleep." She was looking at her hands. "He calls you names sometimes." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Sophie, it's okay, Mom. I know you were trying to protect us, but we're not stupid." Danny was crying silently, tears rolling down his round cheeks. I pulled them both into my arms and held them while my own tears started again. "I'm going to fix this," I whispered. "I promise. I'm going to keep us safe." I just had no idea how dangerous things were about to become. That night, after I'd put the kids to bed with promises that everything would be okay, I sat alone in the dark living room and stared at my phone. Marcus had called 4 times from a number I didn't recognize. He'd left voicemails that I hadn't listened to yet. Against my better judgment, I opened the voicemail app. The first message was apologetic. "Laura, please, I'm so sorry. I messed up. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. Please call me back." The second was angrier. "You can't just shut me out like this. Those are my kids too. You can't keep me from my kids." The third was pleading again. "I talked to Victor. I told him I need more time. He's willing to work with me, but Laura, I need access to the account. I need some money to make a payment. Please, if I don't pay him, things are going to get bad." The fourth made my blood run cold. "Laura, I'm not kidding around. Victor isn't someone you mess with. If I don't pay him, he's going to come looking for his money. And he knows where we live. He knows about Sophie and Danny. Please, Laura, for the kids, call me back." I sat there in the dark, my heart pounding, and suddenly I wasn't just angry anymore. I was terrified. The next morning I went to the police station as planned. The officer who took my report was a tired-looking woman in her 40s named Detective Pamela Torres. "So your husband has been committing fraud using your identity," she said, typing notes into her computer. "And he owes $30,000 to a private lender who's threatened your family." He implied it was a threat. "I don't know for sure. Mrs. Chen, if your husband is involved with loan sharks, you need to take this very seriously. These aren't people who file lawsuits when they don't get paid. They use other methods." What am I supposed to do? File a restraining order if you feel threatened. Document everything. And honestly, she looked at me with something like sympathy. Get your kids somewhere safe until this is resolved. Do you have family they can stay with? I thought of Rachel. Her house in the suburbs with the big backyard and the good schools, miles away from here. Maybe, I said. I'd consider it. In the meantime, we'll open an investigation into the fraud. But I have to be honest with you. Because he's your husband, this gets complicated. Some of what he did might not be technically illegal depending on how your finances are structured. The identity theft at your workplace, though, that's a different story. I left the police station feeling more helpless than when I'd arrived. When I got home, there was a car parked across the street, a black sedan with tinted windows. It hadn't been there when I left. I walked up to my front door, my keys in my hand, every nerve on a high alert. The car didn't move. I went inside quickly and locked the door behind me. Then I went to the window and peered out through the curtains. The car was still there. I called Rachel. "There's a car outside my house. It's just sitting there." "Did you call the police?" "And tell them what? That there's a parked car on a public street?" "Laura, after what Marcus said about this Victor person." I know. Can Tom come over? I don't want to be alone." "We're coming to get you. Pack bags for you and the kids. You're staying with us." "Rachel, I can't just leave." "Yes, you can. Pack. We'll be there in 40 minutes. She hung up before I could argue. I went upstairs and started throwing clothes into suitcases, my hands shaking. I kept going to the window to check on the black car. It was still there, unmoving. By the time Rachel and Tom arrived, I was a nervous wreck. Tom, who was 6'3" and had played football in college, walked straight across the street to the black car and knocked on the window. It rolled down. I couldn't hear what was said, but Tom stood there for a moment, then came back to the house. "It's a PI," he said. "Private investigator. Says Marcus hired him to watch the house, make sure you're safe." "Make sure I'm safe or make sure I don't go anywhere?" Tom's jaw tightened. "I told him to leave. He said he's just doing his job." "Did he leave?" "He moved down the block." "But Laura, if Marcus hired a PI, that means he's escalating. You need to come with us. Now." We loaded the kids and the suitcases into Rachel's minivan. Sophie was scared but trying to be brave. Danny kept asking questions I couldn't answer. As we pulled away from the house, I looked back and saw the black sedan pull out behind us. "He's following us," I said. Tom, who was driving, met my eyes in the rearview mirror. "Let him try." He took a series of turns through the neighborhood, then got on the highway. The black sedan kept pace for about 10 minutes, then fell back and disappeared. Lost him, Tom said with satisfaction. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we hadn't lost anything. We'd just made everything worse. Rachel and Tom's house was a sanctuary. The kids settled in with their cousins, grateful for the distraction. Rachel made dinner, lasagna, my favourite, and we all sat around their big dining room table like this was a normal family gathering and not an escape from my imploding life. That night, after everyone was in bed, I sat with Rachel in her kitchen and finally let myself fall apart completely. I don't know what to do, I sobbed. I don't know how this happened. How did I not see it? You trusted him, Rachel said, rubbing my back. That's not a weakness. That's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. But there had to be signs. There had to be something. Stop. Don't do this to yourself. Marcus made choices and he hid those choices from you deliberately. This isn't your fault. But the kids are resilient and they're lucky to have you. I wanted to believe her, but all I could think about was Marcus's voicemail about Victor and threats and the black sedan following us. My phone buzzed on the counter, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this Laura Chen? A man's voice, smooth and cultured. Who is this? My name is Victor Reeves. I believe your husband has mentioned me. Every muscle in my body tensed. Rachel was staring at me, mouthing asterisk, who is it? What do you want? I said. I want what I'm owed, Mrs. Chen. Your husband borrowed a significant sum of money from me, and he's now 30 days past due on his payment. I'm a reasonable man, but my patience has limits. I don't have anything to do with my husband's debts. We're separated. I understand that, but surely you can see my position. Marcus used your name as a guarantor on the loan. That makes you equally responsible. My blood went ice cold. I never signed anything. Are you certain? Perhaps you should check your documents more carefully. His tone was pleasant, almost friendly, which made it so much worse. I'm not an unreasonable man, Mrs. Chen. I'm willing to work out a payment plan. But I do need some good faith from you. Let's say $10,000 by the end of the week. I don't have $10,000. Then I suggest you find it. For your children's sake. The line went dead. I dropped the phone like it was burning me. Laura? Rachel grabbed my shoulders. What's wrong? Who was that? The loan shark. He says Marcus used my name as a guarantor. He wants $10,000 by the end of the week. That's extortion. Call Detective Torres right now. I did. I left a frantic voicemail on her direct line explaining what had just happened. She called back 20 minutes later. Mrs. Chen, I'm going to be very direct with you. If Victor Reeves is who I think he is, you're in serious danger. He's been on our radar for years, but he's careful. Very careful. He doesn't make threats himself. He has people do it for him. The fact that he called you directly means he's confident you can't touch him. What am I supposed to do? Do you have the 10,000? No. Can you get it? Maybe I'd have to borrow it, drain my retirement account, something. Don't. Her voice was firm. The moment you pay him, he owns you. He'll keep asking for more. You need to disappear, Mrs. Chen. Take your kids and go somewhere he can't find you. Stay with family out of state if you can. And do not, under any circumstances, meet with him or give him money. But he threatened my kids. Which is exactly why you need to get them away from here. I'm going to work my contacts, see if we can build a case against him. But in the meantime, you need to protect yourself. After she hung up, I sat there staring at Rachel. We need to leave town, I said, all of us. Where would we even go? I have a friend from nursing school. She lives in Montana now. She's always said I could visit. Maybe. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized. Marcus. I answered, fury rising up through the fear. What did you do? What the hell did you do? Laura, listen to me. You used my name as a guarantor. You put me on the hook for $30,000 to a criminal? I didn't have a choice. He wouldn't lend me the money otherwise. So you forged my signature? Again? Silence. I'm going to destroy you, I said quietly. I'm going to make sure you never see Sophie and Danny again. I'm going to... Victor called you, didn't he? Marcus's voice had changed. It was smaller now, scared. Laura, please. Don't run. If you run, he'll think I told you to run. He'll think I'm trying to skip out on the debt. He'll come after me. Good, let him. They'll hurt me, Laura. These aren't people who just take you to court. His voice broke. I'm scared. I'm really scared. I made a huge mistake, and now I don't know how to fix it. For just a moment, I felt something like pity. This was the man I'd married. The man who'd held my hand during Sophie's birth, who'd cried with joy when Danny took his first steps, the man who'd promised to love me and protect me and build a life with me. But that man had been a lie. Or maybe he'd been real once, and this was what was left after he'd destroyed himself. You should have thought of that before, I said and hung up. Rachel was looking at me with wide eyes. What are we going to do? I took a deep breath. We're going to figure out what Marcus actually signed. We're going to find out if I'm really legally responsible for his debt. And then we're going to decide whether to run or fight. And the kids stay hidden, no matter what. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in Rachel's guest room staring at the ceiling and tried to piece together how my life had fallen apart so completely in just 2 days. 2 days ago, I'd been a nurse with a family and a house and a normal, boring life. Now I was on the run from a loan shark, contemplating bankruptcy and divorce and terrified for my children's safety. Somewhere in the house, a floorboard creaked. I sat bolt upright, my heart hammering. Another creak, footsteps in the hall. I grabbed my phone, ready to call 911, when there was a soft knock on my door. Laura, it's me. Rachel's voice. I opened the door. She was standing there in her bathrobe, her face pale. Tom just checked the security camera. There's someone outside, in the backyard. We both ran to their bedroom where Tom was already at the window, his phone in his hand. I called the police, he said. But look. He pointed. In the moonlight, I could see a figure standing near the fence line, just watching the house. Is it the PI? I whispered. Too small, and the PI drives a sedan. There's a different car parked down the street now. A van. The police arrived 10 minutes later, sirens wailing, lights flashing. By the time they got to the backyard, the figure was gone. But they found something. A photograph, placed on the back porch. It was a picture of Sophie and Danny, walking home from school. Someone had been following my children. And on the back of the photo, written in neat block letters, Tick-tock. The photograph sat on Rachel's kitchen table like a coiled snake. Detective Torres had come personally this time, along with another officer, and they'd taken the photo into evidence, dusted the back porch for prints, and questioned all of us about what we'd seen. Not enough, I kept thinking. We hadn't seen enough. This changes things, Torres said, sitting across from me. Her face was grim. This is witness intimidation at minimum, possibly stalking. With minors involved, we can move faster. I'm going to have a patrol car stationed on this street tonight, and I want you to keep the kids home from school tomorrow. For how long? Rachel asked. She had her arm around me, and I could feel her shaking. How long do my kids have to be prisoners in their own home because of this? Until we can locate Victor Reeves and bring him in for questioning. And if you can't find him? Torres didn't answer. After the police left, Tom installed additional locks on all the doors and checked every window. Rachel called the kids' school and told them there was a family emergency. that her niece and nephew would be staying home indefinitely. Sophie and Danny were confused and frightened, and no amount of reassurance from me seemed to help. "Mum, why is someone taking pictures of us?" Sophie asked that night, curled up next to me on the guest bed. Danny was already asleep on the other side, his small body pressed against mine. "Because some bad people are trying to scare us." "Is it because of Dad?" I hesitated. I'd been trying so hard to not poison the kids against Marcus, to let them love him even though I was furious with him. But Sophie was 12, and she was smart, and she deserved something closer to the truth. "Dad made some mistakes," I said carefully. "He borrowed money from people he shouldn't have borrowed from, and now those people are trying to get their money back in a scary way." "Did Dad know they were scary people?" "I think maybe he did, yes." She was quiet for a long moment. "I heard him on the phone once, a few months ago. He was in the garage and I went out to get my bike and he was talking to someone. He sounded really upset. He said, 'I know I'm late, but I'm good for it, I swear.' And then he saw me and got really mad and told me to get out." My chest tightened. "You never told me that." "I didn't want to get Dad in trouble. He's always saying how stressed he is about money and how your job doesn't pay enough and his commissions have been bad. I thought maybe he was just having a hard time." "Sophie, honey, Dad's money problems are not because of my job. Do you understand that? None of this is my fault, and it's definitely not yours." She nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. That was something else Marcus had stolen from us. My daughter's faith that adults could be trusted to tell the truth. I held both my kids that night and barely slept, startling awake at every sound. The patrol car stayed outside until dawn, its presence both comforting and terrifying. This was real. The danger was real. In the morning, I made a decision. "I need to see Marcus," I told Rachel. "Are you insane? After what just happened?" "I need answers. I need to know exactly what he signed, whether my name is really on that loan, and how deep this goes. And I need to look him in the eye and tell him what he's done to his children. Then bring Tom with you and meet him somewhere public." I texted Marcus from a burner phone Tom had picked up. "Asterisk. We need to talk. Coffee shop on Main Street, the one next to the bookstore. 1 hour. Come alone." He responded immediately. Asterisk, thank you, I'll be there. Tom drove me and Rachel stayed with the kids. The coffee shop was busy with the morning rush, full of people with laptops and newspapers, normal people living normal lives. I spotted Marcus immediately. He was sitting in the back corner, and he looked terrible. Unshaven. Dark circles under his eyes, his clothes wrinkled like he'd slept in them. "Laura," he said as I approached. He started to stand, but I waved him back down. Tom positioned himself near the door, arms crossed, watching. "Talk," I said. "I'm so sorry. I don't want your apologies. I want information. Did you sign my name on that loan agreement?" He looked down at his coffee. "Yes?" "Show me." "I don't have it with me." "Marcus," my voice was hard, "someone took pictures of our children. Someone stood in Rachel's backyard in the middle of the night and left those pictures where we'd find them. Do you understand what you've done? Do you comprehend how serious this is?" His hands were shaking. I never thought it would go this far. Victor seemed reasonable at first. He said he helps people with short-term cash flow problems, that the interest was competitive. Loan sharks are never reasonable, Marcus. How could you be so stupid? I was desperate. He looked up at me and his eyes were red. You don't understand. The pressure I've been under, the quotas at work, the bills piling up. So your solution was to gamble and borrow from criminals. The gambling was supposed to fix it. I had a system. I was following these traders online who said they made thousands. And you believed them. You bet our family's security on some strangers on the internet. He crumpled. I know how it sounds. But Laura, you have to understand, I was trying to help us. I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to pay off the mortgage, take the kids to Disney World, get you that kitchen renovation you've been wanting. Stop. Just stop. I was gripping the edge of the table so hard my fingers ached. I don't want explanations or excuses. I want to know how to get out of this. Is my name really on the loan? Victor says it is. But did you actually forge my signature on a legal document? He hesitated. It was electronic. He had me fill out a form online. I used your information, your social, your driver's license number. Jesus Christ, Marcus. But I'm not sure if it's legally binding. I mean, you didn't actually sign it, so maybe... That's not how it works. You committed fraud. Again. And even if the loan isn't legally enforceable, Victor doesn't care about legal. That's the entire problem. A woman at the next table was watching us now, pretending to read her book but clearly listening. I lowered my voice. I need you to tell me everything, every detail. When did you borrow the money? February. Valentine's Day, actually, he laughed bitterly. I took you to that nice restaurant, remember? I paid for it with Victor's money. 8 months ago. How much was the original loan? 25,000. The 30 I owe now includes the interest and late fees. And what was the money for? Really? I told you, I was behind on some bills, and I thought I could flip it fast in the market. Don't lie to me anymore, I leaned forward. Where did the money actually go? His face changed. Something guarded slid over his features. I told you. Marcus, our children are in danger. Whatever secrets you're still keeping, I need to know them now. He stared at his coffee for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. I have another daughter. The world tilted. What? From before we met. I was 22, she was just some girl I dated for a few months. She got pregnant, and I didn't handle it well. I took off, went to a different state, started over, but last year she found me. On Facebook. Her daughter, my daughter, is 16 now. Her name is Caitlin. I couldn't breathe. You have a 16-year-old daughter. I know I should have told you, but we'd been married for 10 years, and I didn't know how to bring it up. And the money. Caitlin's sick. Leukemia. They needed help with medical bills. Her mother, Jessica, she reached out, and I couldn't just ignore it. She's my kid, Laura. I couldn't just let her suffer. I sat back, my mind reeling. So you've been sending them money? For the past year, yes. $2,500 a month. It ate up most of my commissions. And when that wasn't enough, when they needed more for experimental treatment, I borrowed from Victor. Does Victor know about them? I don't think so. I never mentioned them. Why? Because if he knows you have another family, he might go after them too. The thought made me sick. Some 16-year-old girl with cancer, caught up in her deadbeat father's mess. God, Marcus put his head in his hands. What have I done? You've destroyed everything, I said flatly. You've put Sophie and Danny in danger. You've probably put this Caitlin in danger, and you've been lying to everyone for years. I know. You need to talk to the police. You need to tell them everything. Victor's name, how to contact him, everything about the loan. Maybe they can work something out, some kind of protection. I can't. He looked up, and there was real terror in his eyes. Laura, if I talk to the police, Victor will know. He has connections everywhere. Cops, lawyers, judges, he'll know. And he'll what? He told me what happens to people who bring the cops into it. There was a guy last year who tried to report him. They found him in his car with a needle in his arm. Victor has people who can make things look like accidents or overdoses or suicides. That's all the more reason to go to the police. You don't get it. His voice rose and several people turned to look. I'm a dead man either way. If I talk, Victor kills me. If I don't pay, Victor kills me. The only chance I have is to get him the money. We don't have it. Then we need to get it. He reached across the table for my hand, but I jerked away. Please, Laura, I know I don't deserve your help, but if not for me, then for Sophie and Danny. As long as I owe Victor money, they're not safe. So what are you suggesting? The house. We could take out a second mortgage. No. Or your retirement fund. Absolutely not. Then what? He was desperate now. What other options do we have? I stood up. You're going to turn yourself into the police and tell them everything. You're going to cooperate fully with their investigation, and you're going to hope that Victor Reeves decides you're more trouble than you're worth. That's not going to work. It's the only option that doesn't involve me draining my life savings to pay off a criminal. You made this mess, Marcus. You fix it. I walked away and I didn't look back. Tom was waiting by the door. That looked intense. He has a secret daughter with cancer, and he's been using our money to pay her medical bills. Tom blinked. Holy hell. Yeah. We drove back to Rachel's in silence. I was trying to process everything Marcus had told me, trying to separate the lies from the truth, the manipulation from the genuine desperation. Did I feel sorry for Caitlin? Absolutely. She was an innocent kid dealing with a terrible disease. But that didn't excuse what Marcus had done. It didn't excuse any of it. When we got back to the house, Rachel met us at the door. Something happened, she said. You need to see this. She led me to her laptop, which was open to Facebook. My Facebook, except I hadn't posted anything in weeks. But there was a new post from my account from 20 minutes ago. To everyone asking where I've been, I'm fine, just dealing with some family drama. Marcus and I are working things out. Thanks for all your concern. I didn't write that, I said. I know you didn't. I grabbed my phone and opened Facebook, tried to log in. *invalid password. Someone hacked my account. Or Marcus gave them your passwords, Tom said grimly. I tried to reset the password, but the recovery email had been changed. The recovery phone number had been changed. I was locked out completely. Why would they do this? I asked. What's the point? Rachel's face was pale. They're trying to make it look like you're not actually in danger, like you and Marcus are reconciling and everything's fine, so if something happens to you... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Detective Torres was back at the house within the hour, this time with a tech specialist from the department's cybercrimes unit. We can trace the IP address of the login, the specialist said, a young woman with purple hair and multiple piercings. But if they used a VPN, it'll be harder. How long will it take? Could be hours, could be days. I don't have days, I said. Torres pulled me aside. Mrs. Chen, I think it's time to consider protective custody for you and the kids. What does that mean? We can put you in a safe house, somewhere secure. Victor won't be able to find you. For how long? Until we can build a case against him, or until your husband cooperates with us and gives us what we need. I thought of Sophie and Danny, thought of them cooped up in some sterile safe house, cut off from their friends and their school and their normal lives. Thought of living in fear, looking over our shoulders constantly, never knowing when or if it would be safe to go home. What about my job? I asked. I've already missed 3 days. You'll have to take a leave of absence. And how do I pay for anything without my job? Torres didn't have an answer for that. In the end, I said no to protective custody. It felt like giving up, like letting Victor win. Instead, I agreed to stay at Rachel's with the patrol car outside, and I contacted a lawyer, a real lawyer this time, not just divorce but criminal defense, to explore our options. The lawyer's name was Patricia Nguyen, and she had kind eyes and steel in her voice. The fraud your husband committed is serious, she said during our phone consultation. But the good news is that most of it can be undone. The credit cards, the bank accounts, all of it can be challenged since you never authorized any of it. You'll have to file reports with the credit bureaus, probably file for fraud protection. but you're not going to be held legally responsible for his debts. What about the loan from Victor? That's trickier. If Marcus forged your signature electronically and used your personal information, that's identity theft. But if Victor is operating outside the legal system anyway, it doesn't matter what the loan documents say. He's not going to sue you. He's going to use other methods. So how do I stop him? You get Marcus to cooperate with the police, and you help them build a case against Victor Reeves. If he's arrested and prosecuted, the threat goes away. And if Marcus won't cooperate? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Then you need to make yourself a less appealing target. Move away, change your name if you have to, make it more trouble than it's worth to come after you. That's not a life, that's running forever. Sometimes running is the smartest option. After I hung up, I sat in Rachel's kitchen and stared at nothing. Everything Patricia had said made sense logically, but emotionally it felt impossible. Run away? Uproot the kids, leave my job, abandon our house, all because Marcus had made catastrophically bad decisions? My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Mrs. Chen, this is Jessica Montero. I'm Marcus's what? I know who you are. There was a pause. He told you? Yes. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to cause problems in your marriage. Caitlin is sick and I didn't know where else to turn. I closed my eyes. How is she? Not good. The experimental treatment isn't working as well as we hoped. The doctors are talking about a bone marrow transplant, but insurance won't cover it, and it costs. Her voice broke. I know Marcus owes people money, I know he's in trouble, and I know it's partly because of us. I've been feeling so guilty. It's not your fault, I said, surprising myself. Marcus made his own choices. He could have asked me for help. He could have been honest about Caitlin from the start. Would you have helped if he'd told you? I thought about it. Would I have? Would I have agreed to send money every month to support a child from Marcus's past, a living reminder of his mistakes? Honestly, I didn't know. Maybe, I said. But now we'll never know, will we? Mrs. Chen, Laura, I know you have no reason to care about us. But Caitlin, she's a good kid. She doesn't deserve any of this. And Marcus, for all his faults, he's been trying to help. He calls her every week. She thinks he's a business consultant who travels a lot. She doesn't know about you or Sophie or Danny. He's lied to everyone. I know, but underneath all the lies, he does care. He's just weak, I finished. He's weak and selfish, and he makes terrible decisions. Yes, Jessica said softly. But he's also Caitlin's father, and right now, she needs him. If something happens to Marcus, if this Victor person, she couldn't finish. What do you want from me, Jessica? I don't know. I guess I just wanted you to know that we're real, that Caitlin is real, that this isn't just about Marcus gambling or making mistakes. There's a sick kid at the center of this. We talked for a few more minutes. She told me about Caitlin, about her love of art, her bravery during treatment, her dreams of going to college and becoming a graphic designer. She sent me a photo, and I looked at the face of my husband's other daughter, a thin girl with Marcus's eyes and a bright, brave smile despite the IV line in her arm. After we hung up, I showed Rachel the photo. That poor kid, Rachel said. I know. Are you going to help them? I don't know anything anymore. That night, everything changed again. I was sleeping, or trying to, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You have 24 hours. $30K in cash. Instructions to follow. If you contact the police, the kids are next. Below the text was another photo. This one was of Sophie and Danny, taken through Rachel's living room window. Today, they were sitting on the couch watching TV, completely unaware they were being photographed. Someone had been watching the house all day. I screamed. Rachel and Tom came running. The patrol car outside had seen nothing. Whoever took the photo had been careful, probably using a telephoto lens from a distance. Torres arrived within 20 minutes, but there wasn't much she could do except increase the police presence and suggest, again, protective custody. 24 hours, I said numbly. How am I supposed to get $30,000 in 24 hours? You're not, Torres said firmly. You're not paying him. That's what he wants. He wants you panicked and compliant. The moment you pay, he owns you. But my kids will protect your kids. I promise you. But how could she promise that? How could anyone promise that when Victor seemed to be everywhere, watching everything? At 2 a.m, unable to sleep, unable to think straight, I made a decision that would change everything. I called Marcus. Laura? He answered on the first ring, his voice thick with sleep. I need you to tell me how to contact Victor directly. What? Why? Because I'm going to meet with him. I'm going to negotiate. No, Laura, no. That's a terrible idea. You have a better one. He's threatening Sophie and Danny. He gave me 24 hours to come up with $30,000, so I'm going to talk to him and work something out. He won't negotiate. That's not how he works. Then I'll make him. Give me his number. Laura. Give me the number, Marcus. Or so help me God, I will walk into the police station right now and tell them every single thing you've ever told me about Victor, and I'll let them use you as bait. He was quiet for a long moment. Then reluctantly he recited a phone number. I wrote it down. Laura, please don't do this. You have no idea what he's capable of. Neither do you, apparently. Otherwise, you never would have borrowed from him in the first place. I hung up and stared at the number. Rachel appeared in the doorway. I heard you on the phone. Tell me you're not doing what I think you're doing. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Not when my kids are being threatened. She sat down next to me. Then I'm coming with you. No. Yes. You're not meeting with a loan shark alone, Laura. I won't let you. We stared at each other, two sisters who'd spent our whole lives looking out for each other, and I saw my own fear reflected in her eyes. Okay, I said finally, but we tell Tom, and we set up a safety plan, and if anything goes wrong, nothing's going to go wrong. But we both knew that was a lie. At 8 a.m, I called the number Marcus had given me. A man answered. Yes. This is Laura Chen. I believe you've been looking for me. Mrs. Chen. The voice was smooth, cultured, the same voice from the previous call. How good of you to reach out. I want to meet with you, to discuss the debt. I'm listening. Face to face, today. Name the place. There was a pause and I could almost hear him smiling. Very well. There's a restaurant downtown, Bellini's. Do you know it? I'll find it. 1 o'clock. Come alone. I'm bringing my sister. Another pause. That's acceptable. But Mrs. Chen, if you bring the police, if you attempt any sort of trick, the consequences will be severe. Do we understand each other? Perfectly. Good, I look forward to meeting you. He hung up. I immediately called Detective Torres and told her everything. This is either very brave or very stupid, she said. Probably both. We can wire you. Set up surveillance outside the restaurant. He said no police. He won't know they're there. We can be subtle. So at 12:30 I found myself in an unmarked police van, having a wire taped to my chest by a tech who promised it was undetectable. Rachel was next to me, refusing to let me do this alone, and Torres was going over the plan for the 10th time. You go in, you talk to him, you get him to say something incriminating on tape. Don't agree to pay him anything, don't sign anything. And if at any point you feel unsafe, the code word is ambulance. Say that, and we come in immediately. What if he searches me for a wire? Then you're in trouble. But these guys usually aren't that sophisticated. They rely on intimidation, not counterintelligence. At 5 minutes to 1, Rachel and I walked into Bellini's, an upscale Italian restaurant in the business district. It was dim inside, all dark wood and leather booths, and there were only a handful of other patrons having late lunches. A hostess approached us. "Do you have a reservation?" "We're meeting someone, Victor Reeves." Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Recognition maybe, or wariness. "Right this way." She led us to a booth in the very back, partially hidden by a decorative screen, and there he was. Victor Reeves was not what I expected. I'd been imagining some kind of movie gangster, thick-necked, gold chains, menacing. Instead, he was a slight man in his 50s, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit with silver hair and intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He looked like a professor or a banker. He stood as we approached, extending his hand. "Mrs. Chen, a pleasure." I didn't take his hand. "Let's skip the pleasantries." He smiled slightly and gestured for us to sit. Rachel stayed close to me, and I could feel her tension. "Would you like something to eat? The ossobuco here is excellent." "I'm not here to have lunch with you." "Of course not." He folded his hands on the table. "You're here to discuss your husband's debt. The debt he incurred by forging my signature and committing identity fraud." Semantics. The debt exists, regardless of the mechanics of how it was created. Marcus borrowed $30,000, and he owes $30,000. Plus interest and late fees, naturally. I don't owe you anything. I disagree. But I'm willing to be reasonable. I understand you have limited resources. You're a nurse, yes? Hard-working, respectable. I admire that. So I'm prepared to offer you a payment plan. I'm not paying you. His smile faded. "Mrs. Chen, I don't think you understand your position." "I understand it perfectly. You're a criminal who preys on desperate people. You threaten families and intimidate children. And you think I'm going to give you money because you've scared me." Rachel grabbed my arm, warning me to dial it back, but I was done being afraid. Victor's expression hardened. "I think you're making a mistake. The mistake was my husband ever getting involved with you. But that's his problem, not mine. You want your money? Go after him." "I intend to, but as I explained to Marcus, when he used your name as a guarantor, he made this your problem too. Show me the document. Show me this alleged guarantee with my signature." He reached into his jacket, and for a terrifying moment, I thought he was going for a gun, but he pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside was a loan agreement. It was professionally formatted, complete with terms and conditions, interest rates, and payment schedules. And at the bottom were 2 signatures. Marcus Chen. And below that, Laura Chen. The signature wasn't even close to mine. It was a clumsy forgery, the loops too wide, the slant all wrong. Anyone could see it was fake. "This isn't my signature," I said. "Nevertheless, it's what we have on file. This wouldn't hold up in any court in the country." "I don't operate in courts, Mrs. Chen. I operate in the real world. And, in the real world, your husband owes me money, and he's not paying. So I'm forced to pursue alternative collection methods. Like stalking my children. Like ensuring that everyone involved understands the seriousness of the situation." I leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my family alone. You're going to consider this debt null and void because it was created through fraud. And in exchange, I won't press charges against you for stalking, harassment, and intimidation." He actually laughed. "Press charges, Mrs. Chen? Do you know how many police officers in this city owe me favors? How many judges I've helped over the years? You can't touch me." "We'll see about that." I stood up. Rachel stood too, and we turned to leave. "Mrs. Chen." His voice stopped me. "I've enjoyed our conversation, truly. You have spirit, but spirit won't protect your children. You have 24 hours to reconsider. After that, I'll be forced to demonstrate what happens to people who don't take me seriously." I turned back. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." And there it was, on tape, thanks to the wire I was wearing. A direct threat against my children, recorded and admissible. I smiled. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Reeves. I think we're done here." We walked out and I didn't exhale until we were back in the police van. "Did you get that?" I asked Torres. She was grinning. "Every word, that arrogant son of a—" She caught herself. "We've got him. Extortion, intimidation, everything. I'm putting out a warrant right now." But even as she said it, even as I should have been feeling relief, all I could think about was the look in Victor's eyes as we'd left. He hadn't looked worried. He'd looked amused, like I'd done exactly what he expected. And that terrified me more than anything.